Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're doing something a little different. We're not just going through some dry academic glossary. No, we are unpacking a personal survival toolkit for your first few months living in Germany. Now, I know a lot of you actually love to put these explainers on in the background, or you specifically want to listen at night to kind of passively absorb the language as you wind down. So because of that, today we're going to focus heavily on the audio experience. You asked us to skip the super basic first book grammar and just give you the core vocabulary list you actually need. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Whether you're glancing at your screen right now or you've just got your eyes closed listening in the dark, let this essential German vocabulary just wash over you, chapter by chapter. By the end of this, you are absolutely going to level up your language survival skills.
All right, let's dive right into this. Just picture yourself right here, standing right at the street sign for Berliner Platz 1, right in the beating heart of the city. We're going to follow the chronological progression of the foundational vocabulary from this exact starting point. We're going all the way from your very first greetings to navigating those bustling streets, right up to the final boss, renting your very first apartment.
Think of this as your personal itinerary. We're going to start with first words and coffee, then move on to shopping and telling time. Then we'll cover food, family, and friends. After that, it's surviving the city, finding a home in Zimmer, Küche, Bad, which just means room, kitchen, bath, and finally, reflecting on the past. Section 1, first words and coffee.
Okay, so we begin with the absolute basics of arriving in Germany. You've just landed, right? You're probably exhausted, and you need to know how to greet the locals, and honestly, how to order that first crucial beverage to fight off the jet lag. But wait, the very first thing you actually need to grasp is the linguistic boundary between formal and informal. It's a huge deal there. If you're speaking to a stranger, an official, or maybe your course instructor, you always use the formal approach. So that's Guten Tag, Herr Sanchez, which means good day, Mr. Sanchez, using the formal Sie for you. But if you're just chatting with a fellow student or a friend, keep it informal with a simple hello and use the informal du. Getting this little nuance right instantly shows respect for the culture.
Now, what's really interesting here, and kind of tricky for English speakers, is the mechanical logic of German nouns. Every single thing has a specific gender article, and you literally just have to memorize them together. There's no way around it. So for your morning caffeine fix, you have the masculine der Kaffee for the coffee, the feminine die Milch for the milk, and the neuter das Wasser for the water. If you're listening in bed right now, just repeat those softly in your head. Der Kaffee, die Milch, das Wasser.
Section 2, shopping and telling time. Okay, so with coffee in hand, let's move the narrative forward to your next survival stage. You need to buy some essentials and figure out your daily routine. Imagine you're walking through a really bustling outdoor market. You spot something you absolutely need, but there's no price tag. What do? How do you ask for the price? The vital everyday phrase you need to internalize right this second is "Was kostet das?", which simply means, what does that cost? And actually, a fantastic hack for navigating that market, especially if you're hitting up a Flohmarkt or flea market, is learning your vocabulary in opposites. It makes it so much easier to remember. If the price they tell you is way too high, it's teuer or expensive. If it's a great deal, it's billig or cheap. You also probably want to know if an item is gebraucht, meaning used, rather than neu, which of course means new. Beyond just shopping, you have to actually navigate your day. And since I know a bunch of you are listening to this at night, these verbs are going to map perfectly onto your current routine. You might need to ask someone, wie spät ist es? What time is it? Maybe they say it's Viertel vor 12, a quarter to 12. Your day officially starts when you aufstehen, or get up. In the middle of the day, you take die Mittagspause, the lunch break. And finally, when the day is totally done and you're exhausted, it's time to schlafen, to sleep.
Section 3. Food, family, and friends. Right. Now that you've got the daily rhythm down pat, we're transitioning to social survival. This is all about interacting with loved ones, hitting the grocery store, and doing some cooking. Let's set a totally relatable scene here. You pop down to the local German kiosk, basically the little corner shop, to grab a few quick items. You pick up das Mineralwasser to stay hydrated, die Zeitung so you can catch up on the news with a physical newspaper, and you pull out das Handy, your cell phone, to text a friend to meet up later.
Let's say you actually invite that friend over for dinner to make a traditional Kartoffel-Zucchini Auflauf, which is a really hearty potato-zucchini casserole. Here are your action verbs, step by step. First, you schneiden, you cut the vegetables. Next, you würzen, you season them. Then you vorheizen, preheating the oven. And finally, you
in den Backofen stellen. You put the whole shebang in the oven.
But what if that friend is actually coming over to celebrate a birthday? Well, the absolutely essential phrase you need in your back pocket is Herzlichen Glückwunsch, which translates to happy birthday or sincere congratulations. And here's a really fun cultural fact for you. Germans often make a massive deal out of a Runder Geburtstag, a round birthday. That means turning a new decade like 30, 40, or 50. You definitely do not want to forget the Herzlichen Glückwunsch for those.
Section 4. Surviving the city.
Okay, so we're stepping out of the apartment now and facing the real challenge, navigating the bustling streets and those famously complex public transit systems of a major German city. Just look at this beautiful, relaxing scene by the fountain. I want you to remember that mastering your city vocabulary isn't just about getting to work on time. It's what actually allows you to relax and enjoy die Kultur, the culture, and die Sehenswürdigkeit, the local sights, without that constant nagging anxiety of being hopelessly lost.
So the crucial point here is mastering these directional lifesavers. If you ask a local for directions, listen very carefully for geradeaus, which means straight ahead. You'll also need to know links for left and rechts for right. Pay close attention to die Ampel, the traffic light, and always be ready to turn at die Kreuzung, the intersection.
And, when your feet finally get tired, you're gonna need public transit. You have to distinguish your trains. Die S-Bahn is your above-ground commuter or suburban train, while die U-Bahn is the underground subway. You'll catch the really big inner-city trains at der Bahnhof, the main station. But you'll wait for a local bus or a tram at die Haltestelle, the local stop.
Section 5. Zimmer, Küche, Bad.
All right, take a deep breath because we are now entering one of the most complex survival stages of this entire explainer. Navigating the notoriously cutthroat German housing market to find your own room, kitchen, and bathroom. Let's see how this builds through the logical progression of snagging an apartment. First, you suchen, you search the listings. Then, you aim to mieten, to rent it. The big celebratory moment is when you den Mietvertrag unterschreiben. You actually sign the lease contract. And finally, you get the keys and einziehen, you move in.
But hold on, before you sign anything, you have to understand the financial vocabulary, which honestly can be quite intimidating. Your base monthly payment is die Miete, the rent. Up front, you will pay die Kaution, which is a usually hefty security deposit. And crucially, do not forget this, you must budget for die Nebenkosten, which are your extra utility costs, along with setting up your own der Strom, the electricity.
Section 6. Reflecting on the past.
Finally, we're shifting to the last chapter of our vocabulary journey today, and this represents a massive milestone for you, the linguistic transition from merely surviving in the present tense to actually telling stories about what has already happened to you. Being able to ask and answer this one simple question, was ist passiert, or what happened, opens up entirely new, deeper, and way more meaningful conversations with locals. You're no longer just asking where the train station is, you're sharing your life experiences.
And this perfectly illustrates the mechanical shift you have to make in your verbs to start speaking in the past tense. You evolve from the present tense kommen, to come, into ist gekommen, has come. Essen, to eat, becomes hat gegessen, has eaten. Forming these past structures proves that you are now fully capable of complex, reflective thought in your brand new language.
So, from saying a simple hello all the way to signing a Mietvertrag for an apartment and telling stories in the past tense, you now have the ultimate survival toolkit. The real question is, are you ready to pack your bags and start your immersion journey? Keep listening to this explainer at night, let the sounds and rhythms of these words really sink into your brain, and I promise you, soon, you won't just be surviving in Germany, you'll be thriving. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.